Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to Diablo II Disconnected News Update number 6. Uh, joke intended. Diablo II Resurrected has been a very fun game, but it is without a doubt to say that the game has had some issues. And we finally got some news on those issues, and so we're going to go over that news that we have. It is a rather lengthy post, so I hope you will join me. So it starts out with Pez Radar, and the title is Diablo II Resurrected Outages, an explanation how we've been working on it and how we're moving forward. Um, Hello everyone. Since the launch of Diablo II Resurrected, we've been experiencing multiple server issues and wanted to provide some transparency around what is causing these issues and the steps we've taken so far to address them. We also want to give you some insight into how we're moving forward. Too long didn't read. Our server outages have not been caused by a singular issue. We are solving each problem as they arise, with both mitigating solves and longer-term architectural changes. A small number of players have experienced character progression loss moving forward. Any loss due to server crash should be limited to several minutes. It was like, in the beginning, the rollbacks could be up to like 3 or 4 hours of progress lost. So I would definitely like the progress to be limited to several minutes. But even several minutes can mean the loss of a Soj or a Vex rune or something that you just found. And I've seen it happen. This is not a complete solve to us, and we are continuing to work on this issue. Our team, with the help of others at Blizzard, are working to bring the game experience to a place that feels good for everyone. We're going to get a little bit into the weeds here with some engineering specifics, but we hope that this helps you understand why these outages have been occurring and what we've been doing to address each instance, as well as how we're investigating the overall root cause. And let's start at the beginning. The problem with the servers. Before we talk about the problems, we'll briefly give you some context as to how our server databases work. Let me bring this a little bit bigger here. Yeah, much better. First, there's our global database, which exists as the single source of truth for all your character information and progress. As you can imagine, that's a big task for one database and wouldn't cope on its own. So to alleviate load and latency on our global database, each region, North America, EU, Asia, has individual databases that also store your character's information and progress. And your region's database will periodically write to the global one. Most of your in-game actions are performed against this regional database because it's faster and your character is locked there to maintain the individual character record integrity. The global database also has a backup in case the main fails. With this in mind, to explain what's been going on, we'll be focusing on the downtimes experienced between Saturday, October 9th to now. On Saturday morning, Pacific time, we suffered a global outage due to a sudden, significant surge in traffic. This was a new threshold that our servers had not experienced at all, not even at launch. This was exacerbated by an update we had rolled out the previous day intended to enhance performance around game creation. These two factors combined overloaded our global database, causing it to time out. We decided to roll back that Friday update we'd previously deployed, hoping that would ease the load on the servers, leading into Sunday, while also giving us the space to investigate deeper into the root cause. On Sunday, though, it became clear that what we'd done on Saturday wasn't enough. We saw an even higher increase in traffic, causing us to hit another outage. Our game servers were observing the disconnect from the database and immediately attempting to reconnect repeatedly, which meant the database never had time to catch up on the work we had completed because it was too busy handling a continuous stream of connection attempts by game servers. During this time, we also saw we could make configuration improvements to our database, event logging, which is necessary to restore a healthy state in case of database failure. So we completed those and undertook further root cause analysis. The double-edged sword of Sunday's outage was that what we'd dealt with on Saturday, we had created what was essentially a playbook on how to recover from it quickly, which was good. But because we came online again so quickly in peak window of player activity, hundreds of thousands of games within 10 minutes, we fell over again, which was bad. So we had many fixes to deploy, including a configuration and code improvements, which we deployed onto the backup global database. This leads us into Monday, October 11th, when we made the switch between the global databases. This led to another outage when our backup database was erroneously continuing to run its backup processes, meaning that it spent most of the time trying to copy from the other database when it should have been servicing requests from servers. During this time, we discovered further issues and we made further improvements. We found a since depreciated but taxing query we could eliminate entirely from the database. We optimized eligibility checks for players when they join a game, further alleviating the load, and we have further performance improvements in testing as we speak. We also believe we fixed the database reconnect storms we were seeing because we didn't see it occur on Tuesday. Then Tuesday, we hit another concurrent player high with a few 100,000 of players in one region alone. This made us hit another incident of degraded database performance, the cause of which is currently being worked on by our database engineers. We also reached out to other engineers around Blizzard to work on smaller fixes as our own team focused on core server issues, and we reached out to our third-party partners for assistance as well. Why is this happening? In staying true to the original game, we kept a lot of legacy code. However, one legacy service in particular is struggling to keep up with the modern player behavior. The service, with some upgrades from the original, handles critical pieces of game functionality, namely creating and joining games, updating/reading/filtering game lists, verifying game server health, and reading characters from the database to ensure your character can participate in whatever it is you're filtering for. Importantly, this service is a singleton, which means that we can only run one instance of it in order to ensure all players are seeing the most up-to-date and correct list at all times. We did optimize this service in many ways to conform to more modern technology, but as we previously mentioned, a lot of our issues stem from game creation. We mentioned modern behavior because it is interesting point to think about. In 2001, there wasn't nearly as much content on the internet around how to play Diablo II correctly. Bail runs for EXP, Pindle Skin / Ancient Sewers, etc. for Magic Find. Today, however, we find a new player can look up any number of amazing content creators, hey, me, who can teach them how to play the game in different ways. Many of them, including lots of database load in form of creating, loading, and destroying games in quick succession. Though we did foresee this with players making fresh characters on fresh servers, working hard to get their magic finding items, we vastly underestimated the scope we derived from beta testing. Additionally, overall, we were saving too often to the global database, and there is no need to do this as often as we were. We really should be saving you to the regional database and only saving you to the global database when we need to unlock you. This is one of the mitigations we have put in place. Right now, we were writing code to change how we do this entirely, so we will almost never be saving to the global database, which will significantly reduce the load on that server. But that is an architectural redesign which will take some time to build, test, then implement. A note about progress loss. Rollbacks. I don't know why they call it progress loss. Let's call it rollbacks, okay? Because that's exactly what it is. It's rolling back your character to an earlier place in the game where you were, not where you are. The progress loss some players have experienced is due to the way we do character locks, both in regional and global databases. We lock your character in the global database when you are assigned to a region. For example, when you play in the US region, your character is locked to the US region, and most actions are resolved in the US region's database. The problem was that during a server outage, when the database was falling over, a number of characters were becoming stuck in the regional database, and we had no way of moving them over to the global database. At that time, we believed we had two options. We either unlock everyone with unsaved changes in the global database, therefore losing some progress due to an overwrite that would occur in the global database, or we can bring the game down entirely for an indeterminate amount of time and run a script to write regional data to the global database. At that time, we acted on the former. We felt it was more important to keep the game up so people could play, rather than take the game down for a long period of time to restore the data. We are deeply sorry to any players who lost important progress or valuable items. As players ourselves, we know the sting of a rollback and feel it deeply. I'm glad they used the word rollback, because that's exactly what it was. And I got rolled back many times. Quite a few people in my group got rolled back. It was a whole thing. Lots and lots of us got rolled back. It was terrible. It still is terrible, and it still is happening. Moving forward, we believe we may have a way to restore characters that doesn't lead to any significant data loss. It should be limited to several minutes of loss, if any, in the event of a server crash. This is better, but still not good in our eyes. What we are doing about it. Rate limiting. We are limiting the number of operations to the database around creating and joining games. And we know this is being felt by a lot of you. For example, for those of you doing Pindle skin runs. So that's a very quick run. It's like a minute, tops. You'll be in and out of the game creating a new one within 20 seconds. In this case, you'll be rate limited at that point. When this occurs, the error message will say there is an issue communicating with the game servers. This is not an indicator that the game servers are down in this particular instance. It just means that you have been rate limited to reduce load temporarily on the database. In the interest of keeping the game running, we can assure you this is just mitigation for now. We do not see this as a long-term fix. So what that means is that you guys can't be running these quick magic find run games where you hop in, kill Pindle, hop out, hop in, kill Pindle, hop out, hop in, kill Pindle, hop out, hop in, kill Pindle, hop out. If the problem that they're having right now is centered around the game creation, those quick games are essentially what's causing the problem. And I can certainly understand them adding the rate limiting to prevent those massive numbers of quick games. Just take a little bit longer. Go do Shank, Eldritch, Stony Field, maybe run a cow level. You'll be fine. Login queue creation. This past weekend was a series of problems, not the same problem over and over again, due to a revitalized player base, the addition of multiple platforms, and other problems associated with scaling. We may continue to run into small problems. To diagnose and address them swiftly, we need to make sure the herding large numbers of players logging in simultaneously stops. To address this, we have people working on a login queue, much like you may have experienced in World of Warcraft. This will keep the population at a safe level we have at the time, so we can monitor where the system is straining and address it before it brings the game down completely. Each time we fix a strain, we'll be able to increase the population caps. This login queue has already been partially implemented on the back end right now. It looks like a failed authentication in the client and should be fully developed in the coming days on PC, with console to follow after. A login queue is a good move in the right direction. I don't have anything wrong with waiting in line for a short amount of time. The problem with login queues is when they become a long amount of time. Okay, so let me just say that very clearly. Like 10-20 minutes, I could get behind. That'd be all right. 3-4 hours, that's way too long, and at that point, you might as well just let us all have at it. Breaking out of critical pieces of functionality into smaller services. This work is both partially in progress for things we tackle in less than a day. Some have been completed already this week and also planned for larger projects like new microservices. For example, a game list service that is only responsible for providing the game list to players. Once critical functionality has been broken down, we can look into scaling up our game management services, which will reduce the amount of load. We have people working incredibly hard to manage incidents in real time, diagnosing issues, implementing fixes, not just on the D2R team, but across Blizzard. This game means so much to all of us. A lot of us on the team are lifelong D2 players, and we played during its initial launch back in 2001. Some are part of the modding community, and so on. We can assure you that we will keep working until the game experience feels good to us, not only as developers, but as players and members of the community ourselves. Please continue to submit your feedback to the Diablo II Resurrected forum, report your bugs on the bug report forum, and for troubleshooting assistance, visit our technical support forum. Thank you for your ongoing communication with us all across all channels. It's invaluable to us as we work on these issues. The Diablo 2 community team will keep you updated on our progress via the forums. Diablo 2 Resurrected dev team. Interesting. I don't know why it says there's more here. There's nothing else here. Just a bunch of empty space. You like the way I got the video in the background there? I think that's pretty cool. I figured that out earlier. So let's go over this real quick just to get an idea of what's going on here. So I kind of want to translate this maybe for some people who might not be as technically minded. It sounds to me like the problem that they were having was they were trying to save every single change from the regional servers to the global servers. So imagine, if you will, when you log out of your PlayStation 5 and you want to hop onto your PC and play for a little while, or you want to hop on your Nintendo Switch and play for a little while, your character has to be saved to the global file. And then when you log on your Nintendo Switch servers essentially download that global file to their regional file. It sounds like what was happening is the characters were not being saved to the global. So what was happening is if you were in, let's say, the North American region and you just joined a game, you spent like 2 or 3 hours in the game. This was originally, by the way. And what happened is you exited that game and then you tried to join another. What was happening is your file wasn't actually being saved on the regional server. And then eventually, I'm assuming what would happen is some sort of timeout would occur. And they basically said, in a nutshell, that they cleared the regional server because everything was stuck. And so it went back to the global server, which is where your main file was, but the global server had an old file. And so what was happening is you were being rolled back to a previous save file, which was the last save file that the regional server updated to the global. And what they said that they're doing is they're trying to limit the number of times, apparently, that the regional servers are saving to the global server. Very simply put, it was doing it too often, and it was causing a huge backup in the number of saves, essentially. And so they're just gonna do it probably during the downtime. They're gonna save you to the global server, or when you switch. So if you switch regions, or if you switch devices, it's probably going to go ahead and update the global server. But for the most part, it seems like they're going to rely on these regional servers more than they're going to rely on the global server, which is probably a good idea, because the global server is more of the backup. It's more of the cross progression device. It shouldn't have been the main server that was taking on everything. They talk about progression loss, and I know a lot of people have been complaining about the rollbacks. I complained about the rollbacks. On the first day, I got rolled back twice in a row, and I lost tons of progress. And there were several people in our chat and stuff like that, like Deviant Brute, who was already in hell difficulty, and I was still stuck in normal difficulty at level 8 on a necromancer because I'd been rolled back twice, and I had absolutely no way of being able to reclaim that progress. It's all up on my YouTube channel if you want to see. It's like the first launch day video. What we are doing about it is a very interesting section here, though. And before we talk about that, let's talk about some of this other stuff they're talking about here. So they specifically were talking about how they are breaking records, essentially, of like the number of players that they had. So like they said that on this weekend, the weekend of basically Friday the 8th to Monday the 11th, they had more people playing Diablo II Resurrected than on launch day, and that blows my mind right out the water, because that says to me that not only is the Diablo II community pushing through this madness, but literally the Diablo 2 community is growing. Like they are literally getting larger and larger despite the problems that are going on, and so they're having issues keeping up. And I don't know in what world they ever thought that Diablo 2 Resurrected wasn't going to be a wild success. I knew it from the very beginning. You might say Boulder Dash, you know nothing. No, I knew. Like I knew a year in advance. I knew. Like that's how far back I knew. I started making videos literally almost a year ago to this day because I knew Diablo 2 Resurrected was going to be a success. And I don't know why they didn't. And I didn't just know it was going to be a success. I knew it was going to be an overwhelming success. But these issues are wearing on all of us, and I think a lot of us are getting to the point where we're a little bit tired of it. And so I'm glad that they came out with something to explain what's going on, because if they didn't, I think people were going to start rioting. First world problems, right? So, getting into these temporary fixes. So, rate limiting people who are making quick games. I can get behind it. If what they're having an issue with is the creation and deletion of games, the creation, the deletion, the joining, essentially all that stuff that is very specifically around making a game and then removing the game from process and then making a new one, I could totally get behind the rate limiting thing. So basically what they're saying is that if you are one of these people who's making a game like every 20 seconds, you're going to start getting error codes that say you're going to have an issue communicating with the game servers. And it's not actually an issue. It's basically just them saying, hey, slow down, right? Which I'm perfectly fine with. And they're saying it's not a long-term fix, and they're looking to find another solution. But for right now, just take a little bit longer to magic find, all right? Don't just kill Pindle, go kill Pindle, Shank, and Eldritch, and then go do a cow run or something. All right, you'll be fine. Login queue creation. Are they saying it's login queue, or are they saying it's game creation queue? Because like it's kind of confusing me here when they say login queue creation, or maybe they're just talking about the creation of a login queue, which is fine. I think it's fine to have a login queue. I don't see anything wrong with it, as long as it's not ridiculous. New World specifically, I've heard, had almost like 10-hour average login queues. That's unacceptable. It's absolutely unacceptable. I don't care what kind of problems they're having with their server. If you've got a 10-hour login queue, that's just not in any realm of feasibility. I mean, at most, I could see maybe like an hour or 2-hour queue being feasible if there's just that many people online. Like if there's just that many people online, there's absolutely no way that you could ever have the amount of service, possible to take that load. Then that's fine. But like 10 hours is just completely unacceptable in any shape or form, because what you're saying in a nutshell is that all these people have paid for your game, but you don't have the proper hardware to utilize, the people that you sold the game to. If you sell the game to 10 million people, you should have enough servers to handle most of those people. Obviously, not all 10 million are going to log in at once, but you're going to have a percentage of those of that 10 million available to those people at all times. And I don't know how many people have purchased Diablo 2 Resurrected so far, but I can only imagine that it's a lot, specifically because they said something along the lines of it was like hundreds of thousands. Where was it? Herding large number of players to logging in simultaneously stops. Where's the part here where they talk specifically about how many people were in coming online? This is the part that really gets me here, is they're like October 9th, what happened? October 10th, what happened? October 11th, what happened? And you know what really, really blows my mind here is they're like October 9th, we saw more people log in than ever before, right? Significant surge in traffic, new threshold that our servers had not experienced at all, not even at launch, right? And then on the 10th, they're like, and it happened again, and we hit an all-new high. And then on the 11th, we hit an all-new high. Like, they're hitting numbers that they never thought that they were going to hit. Now they're also talking about making new pieces of software to handle specifically like the game list service, which I think is a really good move. Especially since they're saying basically that all of it is essentially coming down to a couple issues, and one of them specifically is the old program that they are relying on from the original Diablo 2 Resurrected. It's essentially the system that creates and manages games. So I don't know. I like the fact that they've come out with something and they've let us know. I like the fact that we've gotten like a real explanation and not just like a brush off. But at the same time, I also kind of feel like they should have done this sooner. Like maybe they should have said something about these rollbacks. I don't know. I'm just hoping it's getting close to an end. It feels like we're probably going to have this issue every weekend though until things calm down because everyone is playing and everyone wants to keep playing. And nobody cares about these login issues because they're all still logging in anyway. If the numbers are saying anything, the numbers are saying that literally, despite all of the problems, despite the login issues, despite the rollbacks, they literally are hitting like record high numbers for no particular reason. Not even at launch, they're literally numbers higher than launch. So who freaking knows, man? Anyway, I've droned on for 25 minutes, and I think I've said enough. I hope you guys and gals found this interesting. I do appreciate you guys and gals always watching my videos, and stay tuned. I do have a couple more videos coming up, specifically one revolving around item sockets, and I'm also going to be doing another video on rune word bases. So keep a lookout for that. Anyway, thanks for watching.